Hello, viewer, and welcome to Spotlight here on Hope TV, where you look and live. And on Spotlight, we are always doing our very best to bring to you persons who are doing amazing things in the community to transform it, to drive it in the direction of light. And we are still at the beginning of the year, at a point when we are thinking, how can this year be better? Now, one of the ways that our year can be better is by changing the way we do the things we do, by upping our attitudes, upping our habits, upping our spirit, and that way we are able to attain excellence. And we are going to be engaging exactly that, excellence in our year. And we're going to be looking at very specific practices, habits, disciplines that will accelerate your excellence. And excellence is definitely always better. If there is a phrase like that, that excellence is always better, yeah. Excellence is always better than being average or being mediocre or being lowly. And to help us do that is Reverend Joseph Obwanda, who is really, in this country, the one person who has a passion, consistent passion for years about the spirit of excellence. Reverend Obwanda is a Methodist theologian. He is also a clinical psychologist, and he is an author and philosopher of personal excellency. You can tell that is his forte. He is also the lead coach and founder of Heshimika Foundation. I mean, he is just a person who really pushes, especially the church, the Christian, in that space of excellence. Reverend Obwanda, welcome.
Thank you for having me, and good evening, our viewers.
All right.
Yes.
Great. And viewer, as always, you're part of this conversation. Do engage us on the line that's provided there, on our social media platforms as well. Let's hear what you have to say about this topic, this theme, this area of excellence. Now, Reverend Obwanda, we're talking about excellence when this week, the exam for the secondary school, Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, the results have just been released. And so homes are still processing that, schools are processing that, individual students are processing that. And they are the A's, of course, who look automatically excellent, right? But there are also lower grades, the D's and some E's, that look not excellent. So it's a season when people are really assessing themselves, calibrating themselves when it comes to excellence. Now, parents are judging their children. Schools are also assessing themselves. And also the candidates themselves are also branding themselves, whether they are excellent or not. Now, in this context, there's the A student, there's also the D student. Now, how do you process excellence in this kind of scenario?
Right. Thank you, Your Excellency Furi, Reverend. First, I want to congratulate our sons and our daughters for having come through the learning processes as predicated in our education system of the 844, and the way it is curated in such that they are examined after about 12 years of learning. That's 36 terms. And after 36 terms, you are told, for all your effort, you are worth this, or you are graded like this. That, to me, is a bit problematic. Suffice to say, I'm a beneficiary of this because my son, Joe Jr., has just also been awarded and graded. And I congratulate you, Joe, because you have indeed become an excellency in your own right, and all our sons and daughters. But to say that any has failed, I think it's quite cruel. I don't think learners fail. It's the learning that fails. The wisdom of one man says that the greatest thing that interferes with learning is education. Our education system interferes with learning. So you have many people who have success, but they're not successful. So you have success by the grading and academic systems. but are you successful? Because the issue is not about the academics as it is about your holistic development. So if what you got your best, you did your best, there's no shame in that. And if you did not get your best, that is also a positive thing, because now you have a point of learning in your trajectory of learning. So I want all our learners, all our sons and our daughters and parents, you are equally part of the grading. You are being graded as a parent. If your child has gotten any grade, you both got that grade. It's not that your child was representing you in the class, but you were in the background. How much of that did you contribute to? So I don't think anybody should point fingers and label anybody as failure. If education is not bringing a learning experience, it is the worst enemy of our growth process or of excellency. So some of us, if we were to be judged today as having been successful academically, will not be worth speaking or standing, because academically we were graded. But you are more than your grade. You are a high grade. You are an excellency. God has put in you the spirit of excellence, which you must continuously nurture and become. But suffice to say that what this means is that you can take a trajectory or a path towards what you really want to become, and there are many opportunities to become what you really want to become.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's not limit it to academic excellence only. Yeah.
All right. Still at it.
Yes.
Let's talk about parents.
Yes.
And the ones with A's and A minuses, maybe they don't need a lot of nursing
Yes.
right now. But the parents who have children who did not do as well as they wanted to, or as they had hoped, how do they support their
Yes.
children and guide them in a way that makes them know that their children should not be abandoned?
Yes.
Their children should not be branded as a waste of money.
Yes.
Because many children, some parents are careless enough to tell their children that
Yes.
you wasted my money.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
you wasted my time. Is this all you can bring?
Right.
In the moment of that emotional disarrangement. And those words stick
Yeah.
to the child for long. So how would you guide the parents in terms of still holding their children on the path of success,
Yeah.
despite what we can say are their undesired results?
Right. I empathize with parents who are in those situations, because the truth is that you want to feel like you made investment, and you want to feel like it turns out good for you, that you are a CEO and your child has measured up. You can tell your peers, you can put on social media, my son, my daughter has done this. And to the extent that that is not being achieved, you feel let down, embarrassed. That is exactly the problem, that it's about you now. It is not about the child. And if it has always been about you and not about the child, that is unfair. You are being unfair to the child. So my admonition is that at the end of the day, think of parenting as this. Whatever happens, the greatest responsibility in parenting is to build a relationship with your child. And if anything happens and comes between you and your child, the relationship between you and your child, that thing is an enemy. So education and any other accomplishment and what people's comments and opinions may be about your child should not come between you and your child. So whatever your child got, does it change your child being your child? That relationship still stands. And so long as that relationship is there, there's hope that that child can, with your support and with your relationship, that child can become whatever they want to be. There are great people in this, in history and in modern world who have turned out to be more than society expected just because one person stood by them, their parent, or that person whose opinion they hold highly. So let's not use a temporal situation to build a permanent pain or a permanent situation that we will both regret. Okay. So journey with your child. If they see, because I like to say, if your child steals, your child is not a thief. If your child kills, your child is not a killer. If your child fails, your child is not a failure. In other words, what your child has done, what your child has achieved, that's not your child. Your child is your child. Those things are those things. So it's exams which has failed. It's not your child who has failed. You build your relationship with your child and put that thing apart and keep nurturing your relationship. Because if you miss your relationship, even if your child got an A, but you don't have a relationship with that child, the day that child turns back and says, this is what my parent wanted, it was more important to my parent that I got the A than that I was their child. The child will hate their education. They will, in due course, they'll throw it back to your face. So let your child know that they are your child. The grade is a grade, but they are your child nonetheless.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very insightful there,
Yeah.
and a very important reminder.
Yeah.
Still at the beginning of the year right
Yeah.
now, when we are mapping the year, wondering what we should change. And we desire, I think it's just a gravitation to be better. You've written a great book.
Thank you.
Accelerations.
Yes.
Right? And there are 26 excellency inspirations
Yes.
for personal and professional significance.
Yes.
Now, 26 are quite many.
Yes.
But the appreciation here is that you don't just describe the need for us to be excellent. You've broken it down to real habits, real disciplines that promote, become a ladder in a way to the zone of excellence. Now, allow us to look at a few of them.
Right.
And one of them is visioneering.
Yes.
Right? And there's something you said here that the less clear one's vision of the future is, the more likely they are to engage in low-value pastime and small talk in the present.
Yes.
Now, you don't want to be a small talk person. You don't want a year to go by, when all you did was small talk, right?
Yes.
That's very risky and expensive, right? So tell us about visioneering and how that connects with you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I've authored the book Acceleration with the 26 letters of the alphabet. And I want to say that because 26 is, a year has 52 weeks. So if you took one concept for 2 weeks and study it, this is the second week of the year. So if we studied, let's say, attitude, and every week you're doing 2, 2, 2, by the end of the 52 weeks, you'll have been accelerated with the excellency inspirations. But to your question, visioneering is curated from the word vision. And I think of the concept where when you're steering a car, you're driving a car. So when you have a vision, when that vision is every day demanding on your lifestyle, that everything you do it with a view of what's my vision. And it suffices to define what I consider as a vision, what you see yourself being and doing. That's your vision. It's the end product. So now we have the next 360 plus days, or say the end of the year, 2024. What do you see yourself being and doing by the end of the year? Be it in your family, be it in your faith life, be it in your finances, be it in your career, whatever it may be. Now, visioneering means every day and every so frequently, you are allowing that vision to demand on your present actions, engagements, and everything. And the quote you've just put, for example, if I have a clear picture, this is the kind of a parent I want to be by the end of this year. This is the parent that I'm envisaging. Then I will always ask myself, how am I talking to my son? How am I engaging with my wife? Is it contributing towards that picture, that vision? Or am I myself sabotaging my own vision? Proverbs 29:18 says, where there's no vision, the people perish. Another translation, I think the Living Bible translation says, where there's no revelation, the people run wildly. NIV says, where there's no revelation, the people cast off restraint. So a vision is the rail guards, like what we have on the roads. As you're driving down the road, on the bridges, there are those metallic barriers that are put there. They're called rail guards. So a vision is a rail guard. It determines how much of your time, how much of your resources, how much of your emotions you invest on anything. So you cannot do low-value activities when you know you have a high-value vision to pursue.
All right.
Yeah, because everything is intentional. Yes.
Reverend, vision
Yeah.
and visioneering
Yes.
mostly sounds as a concept that relates to the younger people.
Yes.
You know, if you are 20, you can do a vision.
Yes.
If you're 30, you can do a vision.
Yes.
If you're 40, you can do a vision.
Yes.
But when you're 70,
Yes.
it doesn't sound like vision is
Yeah.
something for you.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you speak to that?
Well, that is, I think, from scriptural understanding and general, a vision is a concept of a future, all right? So that when we are talking of age factors, we are saying that younger people have a potential more future to do with than older people. And Joel says that the Lord in the last days shall pour his spirit upon all flesh, and the younger people shall have visions, and the older people shall dream dreams. The two complement each other. A dream for an old person is that thing that they have woken up and they realize this thing has not been realized. So they can mentor and bequeath the possibilities of that dream that was never realized to them to the visioneer, who is a younger person. To mean that and when you have a vision, you are thinking so much about what is more to be done. With a vision, you're thinking about the future. You're thinking about, you're engaging your imagination. With a memory, you're thinking about the past. So older people tend to say, I used to, and that can be a holding factor. It can brood mediocrity. So you hear somebody saying, I have 20 years experience, yet maybe it's 2 years experience repeated for 18 years. They never learned, they never grew, they never expanded. But a younger person who was, they are versatile, they are agile, they can be creative, they can be imaginative, then vision becomes the railgun, becomes their tool of engagement. But to say old, being young is also relative to your purpose, right? Because the psalmist says, teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts to wisdom. So when you are old and you have applied your heart to wisdom and you're numbering your days, it means it's not about the duration, it's about the donation. There are people who in their old age, they have brought out great inventions and innovations that have helped society. We have people who have stepped into leadership positions at past 70, all right? Look at the former president, President Kibaki in this country. He came into presidency at past 70. And look at the dynamic Vision 2030. We are all talking about Vision 2030. Why? Because there was somebody who looked at the past, his dreams, and yet allowed the energy of the versatile and the imaginative bureaucracy of government to visioneer this country. And today, we are celebrating that. So I don't think age is really an alibi for visioneering.
All right.
Yeah.
Well put.
Thank you.
And money is a big thing.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes we assess our success in terms of money. And it's big.
Yes.
It's huge. It's a huge way of assessing success.
Yeah.
And you do mention money
Yes.
in the context of excellence.
Yes.
And again, we just something to read here.
Yeah.
It says it's conmanship
Yes.
to seek to make money
Yes.
without transacting commensurate value addition for which you are paid.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about money and how it fits in the picture of excellence.
Absolutely. You know, one of the motivations of humans is money. Money is an index of it's a great motivator. But look at money as an index of value add. That it's not always commensurate, but I think our society today, one of the, I think it's a disadvantaging concept, is when I hear people say, I want to make money. Like maybe our viewers, somebody has said, this year I want to make a lot of money. I don't think money is something to be made. Money is something to be earned. And there's a whole world of a difference. Those who are making money, they tend to go to any extent to make it. But those who are earning are different, because when you are earning, it's supposing that you are transacting value, you are sending value You are meeting needs, and people are reciprocating by recognizing those needs that you are meeting by giving you money. So that's why I'm saying you are a con person when you want to make money and you don't want to earn it by bringing value add to people and to society. Most young people, and I'm in the university, Kenya Methodist University, Nairobi campus as a chaplain, and I see many of my students, they are eager to make money. Old people, I mean, the Kenyan society, the corruption problem is because people are in the crave of making money. What if we started asking people, how did you earn this money? Not how did you make this money? That's what I mean by it. Therefore becomes, it speaks to your virtues, it speaks to the ethics of work, it speaks to the discipline. All those are ingredients of earning money. And that is what excellency is about. Excellency is about your virtues. It's about the spirit of excellence that you deploy yourself. Even if you're not employed, you deploy yourself. Even if you are employed, you deploy yourself in your employment, that you bring your value add. And that's how excellency comes into this.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Very insightful there.
Thank you, sir.
I especially like the idea of earning
Yes.
as a transaction of value.
Yes.
Not just making money, no matter what.
Yes.
You know, because the means matter.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there is the discipline factor. And what you say here is that in some part of it, you say evidently, discipline for excellency is an inside-outside work rather than the other way around.
Right.
And it's just you say that just after you cite a scripture about Paul and talking about running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize.
Right.
Talk about discipline.
Yeah. Paul is saying, I discipline myself. I bring myself under subjection. Who is the I who is disciplining me? So there's a resident boss. There's the spirit person that is bringing control to the flesh and to the soul. Because we are tripartite, spirit, soul, and body. So your discipline is a spiritual factor more than a social or external factor. If you're only disciplined by external regulation and not internal revelation, your discipline is not sustainable. So this, and I like what one scientist said, Aristotle said, that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not just an act, it's a habit. So you begin from the inside. You ask yourself, is this who I am? If what you are doing as a discipline is not who you are, you will not sustain it. So you must ask yourself this year, who am I? The moment you define yourself as that, you start finding yourself responding or adopting behaviors and habits. You habituate who you are. If I see myself as rich, then I ask myself, how does a rich person behave? How does he engage? So then my discipline is starting from the inside rather than from outside. And I like to say, and I've said it there, that you are as big as your discipline or you are as small as your lack of it. Show me your discipline, I'll show you who you are. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You know, I think, Reverend, one of the things from observation that that is lowly embraced is the fruit of discipline.
Yeah.
And the necessity of discipline.
Yeah.
Especially in a culture whereby we want to achieve quickly. We want to be rich quickly. We want to be famous quickly.
Yeah.
And we don't want anything that takes time. But discipline does take time.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that's it's a virtue that needs to be preached as inevitable. As inevitable.
Yeah.
And your emphasis of it is quite.
Thank you.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Discipline.
Thank you.
Our culture really protests these other inspirations.
Yeah.
That's honesty.
Yes.
Right. You know, if you say Kenya
Yeah.
and honesty,
Yeah.
you
In the
are
same
talking
line,
about on
they don't work.
yeah, unless you're saying you're giving an example of a country, you know, where honesty is absent.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
then you can put Kenya in
Yeah.
that sentence. But you talk about honesty as
Yeah.
as a key part of excellence.
Yes.
And you give an interesting line here.
Yeah.
And you have a way with words. You know,
Yeah.
you may be sincerely wrong,
Yeah.
but you must always have the comfort of knowing that you are never wrong in being sincere.
Yeah.
Quite the line there.
Yeah,
You
thank
have
you.
to
Thank you.
philosophize that apart, right? Tell us
Yeah.
about honesty and excellence.
Yes. The Bible presents to us Daniel as a paragon or a role model of excellence. And he was in a hostile environment, a culture which was not honest. The Babylonian system was not particularly given to fear of God, the God we worship, or the God of Daniel. And therefore, there was a lot of corruption. There was a lot of conspiracies. People were always sabotaging and, cutting each other. And if you read Daniel chapter 6, the Bible records that the king considered to put Daniel in charge so that he may not suffer harm. In other words, so that he may not, because of the corruption. And it says that he considered Daniel in verse 3 because he was distinguished, because the spirit of excellence was found in him. And when they looked for things that they may fault him in, they never found anything to fault him in, because he was honest, he was a man of integrity. And therein it presents a very good case that you cannot be an excellency without entertaining the fact that you must be honest. And I'm saying honesty comes in because it's a virtue component. Spirit of excellence is a functional DNA of the person who is defaulted to excellence. And so why we do not have honesty is because we do not have many people who can handle the truth. So our tool of trade is not truth. Because when you trade in truth, people believe when you're honest and you're trading in truth, then you are disadvantaged. But I hold the view, and I've explained that in the concept of excellency as a virtue or as an inspirational concept, that as Romans 19 says, be excellent at what is good, be innocent in what is evil, and the God of peace will soon crush Satan underneath your feet. In other words, when you are honest, insofar as excellency is concerned, God jumps onto your side of the battle. Philippians 1 verse 10 says that approve the things that are excellent, be sincere and without offense. Three parts that Paul recommends to the Philippians, that always ask yourself, is this thing honest? Did I get what I got? Is this thing excellent? And if it's excellent, where is the sincerity component in it? You cannot be excellent and yet at the same time you are insincere. And then be without offense. So when you are excellent, you are sincere, you will hardly be offended because you've done what is right, and if given a chance, you'll do it over and over again the same way.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we are at that, Reverend Wanda, as we navigate life,
Yes.
we encounter people who are excellent, not in the sense of, earning money out of a transactional value,
Yeah.
or disciplined in the sense of they know how important discipline is, or people who are, honest,
Yeah.
as you have explained, but people who are excellent in doing evil. And you've talked about be excellent at what is good, be innocent of evil. But our world is actually populated
Yeah.
with people who are excellent
Yeah.
at doing evil
Yeah.
and totally innocent
Yeah.
of what is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do we navigate such a world?
Yeah. You have to accept personal responsibility for what you're responsible. If others are irresponsible, it does not give me permission to be irresponsible, right? And David came to a point where he had faith crisis. If you read Psalm 73, he's describing, and I'll invite our viewers to read Psalm 73. He's discussing about how he felt it was useless to be righteous, how he felt he was so disadvantaged because the people were dishonest, the wicked people, they were always flourishing. Their eyes were bulging with fat. You know those people who are fat, you know, until their eyes are bulging with fat. They were spewing, profanities to God, and yet nothing bad was happening to them. And David could not reconcile that. He was saying, God, so what's the use of being righteous and being committed to excellence when the people who are mediocre and, as you're saying, excellent in evil, they are always thriving? And that, especially for young people, it works. It's hard to countenance. You kept yourself pure, but the girl who is a party girl and everything seems to be prospering, and you who is pure seems to be struggling. And so David comes to the conclusion in Psalm 73, and he says, until I saw their end, then I discovered I was not disadvantaged. So evil may seem to run laps around truth and righteousness. But at the end of the day, the constant, the ever steadfast, righteous person, ever going steadily without being in a hurry, because in the race of destiny, there's no speed break records. You are not racing against anybody. You are fulfilling your purpose. So you may envy that the grass is greener on the other side. But you don't know, maybe there's a burst sewer that is watering the grass. You don't know, the water bills are equally higher. So stick to your side, be honest, because it's good to be honest. One of the practical things in our master course on excellence that we train people is excellency of conduct, of the 7 pillars of excellency, excellency of conduct. We say, for example, when you're driving, the lights turn red, stop. Somebody will start hooting behind you, some will jump the lights, and you feel, what did I do wrong? But there's something about your conscience, which is the first pillar of excellency. You feel your conscience is telling you you did the right thing. Not because the lights, not because there are no other vehicles. Don't litter when you're not supposed to litter. Just do the right thing for right sake. And that the peace you get in doing that cannot compare with the fun, the excitement that the person who is killing his conscience while doing evil. Because even when they're doing evil, they know it is evil. And they do not have a peace at night. Okay. I like this quote, the softest pillow to rest your head on at night is a clean conscience. When your conscience is clean at night, that's the best pillow you can rest your head on. Yeah.
And I think that when you talk about conscience,
Yeah.
it's a road less traveled.
Yep.
Because the conscience is so much it's your most private of
Absolutely.
places, right?
Absolutely.
But you're talking about conscience as a factor of excellence as well, that you can assess yourself internally,
Yes.
you know, and in that inner being, and still say, I feel free.
Yes.
That I can sleep on that
Yes.
that pillow you've talked
Yes.
about.
Yes.
And I think that's profound. Going back to things like conscience.
Yes.
But you also talk about justice. And talk about justice.
Yes.
You actually make a reference,
Yes.
partly, to the national anthem,
Yes.
Kenya's national anthem. And you talk about, O God of all creation, blessed is our land and nation. Justice be our shield and defender.
Yeah.
May we dwell in unity, peace, and liberty. Plenty be found within our borders. Now, justice is
Yeah.
often understood from the sense of the courts.
Yes.
It's understood as a legal dimension.
Yes.
But now you bring it down to the place of excellence.
Yes.
Just explain that to us.
As you read in the book, and I've given examples of the concepts that have been presented about justice, that the law is an ass, is a donkey, or is stubborn. It only responds to, you have to whip it. In other words, it seems it can be manipulated. And when you're talking about excellence, it speaks to, maybe we need to define what we talk about excellence. Excellence is holding yourself responsible to the highest possible standards and ideals. That you're always saying that in this circumstance, in the way I express myself, in the way I engage, I'll always ensure I give the highest possible standard and ideal. And when you talk about justice, we say justice ought not just to be done, it ought to be seen to be done. In other words, justice is not just from the point of the judge. It also has to be from the point of the person who is a consumer of that judgment and the verdict of the judge. It has to be contextual. And that is about raising the standards, that we are looking at multiple dimensions of that thing which we call justice. Because God is a God of justice. He's a God of excellence. And if he was just to meet to us from a point of just the law, and the Paul says that the letter killeth, is the spirit that giveth life. In other words, we start bringing in considerations of, the humanity, the somebodyness, that which is right in the sight of God and in the sight of society, what is good. And you see, most people, when they are doing things, especially things that aggravate and offend, it's because they never think whether, is this right, even if it was me. Being considerate. When I'm being considerate, I think not just from my own thoughts, I think from your thoughts. I speak not just from my own words, I speak from your own words as well. I feel not just with my own feelings, I feel with your feelings. And when you have a society of excellence, where justice is our shield and our defender, we start being considerate. There's plenty in our society. Look at the words of the late J.M. Karaoke. He said, let's be careful that we are not a society of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. That's where there's injustice, where there's indignity of mediocrity and poverty, is where a few people have everything and majority have nothing. For example, issues of injustice in this country, historical and modern, you look at it and you can say, we are not even true to our own edict of our national ethos of anthem. Plenty be found within our borders. For who? It seems plenty is found within our borders for a few. So there are 10 million beggars and 10 millionaires. That inequity, because Kenya is the most inequitable society today. And yet this country is endowed. There's enough for every of our need. And there isn't enough of our greed. How does one family and a person own a whole county or a whole province, yet in that county, in that province, there are squatters who can't afford even a quarter of an acre of a land? That's injustice. That's not excellency.
The aspect of justice. It seems in our being a vice country, we are perfecting more insensitivity. For instance, talk about grabbing, for instance, and talking about deals, right? When it comes to grabbing, for instance, you have to be insensitive and plan to oppress. When it comes to cutting deals, I mean, you hike prices to wherever you can. Insensitivity. And so we are a culture that is training more of our people are going to the school of oppression than are walking into the school of justice.
Well, that's quite melodramatic to say, because at the end of the day, even those people who are conspiring against the land and against the people, who are what they call the merchants of death and injustice and evil, they come from this same society. And I always say that the quality of the cream can never be different from the quality of the milk from which it is churned. We must be accomplices to our leaders. We must be the ones agreeing to those who are doing those things, or else we will call them out. But let's say it this way. When you talk about insensitivity, it's about conscience. And that's why in our master course of excellency, we talk about excellency of conscience being the first pillar, that you must have that sensitivity. I like to give the example. How would somebody, a public servant, who has stolen, let's not even call it misappropriate, because that makes it sound so nice, who has stolen public resources and built a multi-million house, 7 bedrooms, and that money maybe was meant for people living with life-limiting conditions, call it whatever health condition. So this money was meant for a hospital. You built a house, multi-million house, you bought state-of-the-art bed and mattresses and what you're sleeping in. That's a bloody house. That's a bloody kitchen. That's a bloody sofa set. You must have a dead conscience to feel nothing, even when you're sleeping in that. And that insensitivity is what engenders mediocrity in our society. So when we start allowing for our conscience to come alive, and we have a sense of right and wrong, we'll always be inclined to doing that which is right for right's sake. When you talk about justice, one of the things I say, we can get philosophical, we can get legal, we can get even theological about what is just and what is justice or not. But I say, just is, just is. Just is, just is. When you are doing what is right, you will know it is right. You may argue your way to court and you may win the case. But justice just is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are 26 of these
Yes.
inspirations. I know for an author, it's hard sometimes to pick one or two that you can say this is the one that I personally connect with, or this is the high point of this pulpit. Let me call it that. But I want to push you there and ask you, don't give us two.
Yeah.
Give us one. One that of these 26 inspirations that you connect with the most, mostly because not you want people to hear it, but because it has also impacted your life.
That's like asking me to choose between my 3 wonderful children. However, I think the first one becomes the first one. A, for attitude. You can never rise to an altitude that is higher than your attitude. Your attitude sets the pace. Your excellency begins with the attitude, your internal configuration, your frame of thoughts, your outlook. It will determine your outcomes. So I talk about attitude from a point of both psychologist, philosophical, theological. I look at different shades of attitude. But most importantly, William James, the father of psychology, he speaks about attitude, and he says that the greatest discovery of my generation is that man can change their life by changing their attitude. Then he says attitude is everything. But before the psychologist William James came in, King Solomon penned the words. He says in Proverbs 4:23, guard your heart with all diligence, for it determines the quality of your life. For out of it flows the issues of life. So I would admonish our viewers to think that at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day, beginning of the year, check your attitude. At the end of this year, one of the things that will determine what kind of a person you'll be in your relationships, it will be your attitude towards your spouse, your attitude towards your children, your attitude towards God, your attitude towards others. That, to me, is what I say is the pearl of excellency. In fact, there are 5 life attitudes around that. There's love, your attitude towards others. There's faith, your attitude towards God. There's joy, your attitude towards yourself. There's forgiveness, your attitude towards the past. And there's hope, your attitude towards the future. So if you put all those together in a healthy tension, and I've given examples of people who, by reason of positive attitude, they were able to transcend and overcome life-limiting conditions, like Helen Keller, born deaf and dumb, was not able to speak, was not able to to hear, and even blind, was not able to see, became a professor, became a prolific author, and she says that worse than being blind is to live life without a vision. And vision is the attitude of the spirit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'll ask you a long question,
All right.
but I want you to give us a very pointed answer.
All right.
Many people are excellent in their public life. They transform themselves and they become conquerors in public places. But they are absolutely languishing in their private life.
Yeah.
So they are unable to transform that space. So they are celebrated publicly, but they are miserable privately. Speak to that discrepancy shortly.
That's a big pressure point. Even myself here, I speak about excellency. One would expect that, you know, have everything figured out. It's not so. It's because excellency is not perfection. Excellency is not a destination. It's a journey. We are work in progress. So you need not to be hard on yourself in pursuit of excellence. You need to just appreciate that the fact that you're committed to excellence, you're already enlisting your life into a lifelong work in progress. So I'm work in progress. God is not done with me yet. Why should I be done with myself?
Okay.
Yeah.
As short as
Thank you.
I was hoping
Thank you.
that Reverend Joseph of Wonder would do.
Thank you.
We really appreciate
Thank you.
and just your passion for the community
Yeah.
and your faith that excellence is achievable, that people can actually change their lives.
Yep.
So this year doesn't have to be the same, or you don't have to, sentence yourself to the statements that all years are the same. No. It's an opportunity for us to change.
Yes.
No matter how much we've tried in the past and failed, it's important for us to dare one more time and improve ourselves, even others.
Yes.
So thank you again for
Thank you.
your effort.
Thank you for having
and
me.
your passion for excellence.
Yes.
And your accelerations are 26.
Yeah.
But we've just been able to handle a few. But it's
Thank you.
amazing just how you have been you've gotten the insight to put them down.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
practical.
Thank you.
Helps. Thank you so much.
God bless.
And viewer, as we end this edition of Spotlight, the last of the accelerations, inspirations, is zest, and this is what Reverend Obwanda says to us. Your best is when you refuse to rest in mediocrity, but zest for excellency thrusts you to your crest. I think it's just worth one more time. This is a quote directly from him. It's not from a foreigner someplace, from a person in history. No, it's from this gentleman who is doing God's work.
Yes,
right
I'm doing
here.
God's work.
And you'll be there no matter what.
I'll be here, and the clouds are gathering.
He says to us, your best is when you refuse to rest in mediocrity, but zest for excellency thrusts you to your crest. Let this be that year where you're thrust to the crest. This has been Spotlight again. Thank you for watching.